Hello everybody, my name is Paul Burrows. I'm the Principal Software Solutions Manager for Reality Capture for Leica Geosystems, and today I'm going to take you through our newest solution, Reality Cloud Studio, powered by HxDR. So without further ado, let's dive into the software and learn what it can do for you. Okay guys, so now we are in the platform, we're in Reality Cloud Studio. I just want to take a little bit of time to look at how we create projects, set up projects, and also how we then set up our users as well within a given project. So what you can see on the screen here initially is all the projects that are in my current instance of the solution. So we've got the one that we're going to be delving into today, primarily this Hexagon Live folder. You can see there's 85 different assets in there. We can, if we want to, search the projects. Obviously in this situation where we've only got 4, we don't really need that, but if we've got hundreds of projects listed in our Reality Cloud Studio instance, then of course we probably do need that function. We can also sort by owner, so if we were just to put my name in here, for example, you could see all the projects where I was the owner, which will allow me to drill down. And you can also sort by created, modified, all the standard things, sort by ascending. You can also view that in a slightly different mode if you want to as well. So what we could do at this stage, if we want to jump in that existing project, we can. But we could also create a new project. So if we create a project here, it allows you then to put in the title, the description, the location as well, if you want to, plus any labels. Now labels are really cool if you want to say, I don't know, call it heritage or building, or maybe it's based in a particular country. You can use that label to follow that asset and that project throughout the entirety of your use of Reality Cloud Studio to track projects. You can also upload a cover image like we've done, and you can also from this point manage the team. So you can actually invite members who are already part of your team, or you can invite external users by adding their email, and they'll receive an invite to view that asset as well. And then we would just create project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just jump straight into our project, and what you can see here is all of the assets and all of the subfolders which I have created, which we're going to look at through the course of this video today. Now you can see we're on the Assets tab right now, which is showing all of the scan data and all the registrations or meshing that we've done. Then we have our project members, so this is anyone associated with the project that we have added, and you can see most people are listed as editors. We have editors, collaborators, and viewers, and of course there is a maintainer and an admin level that your IT would obviously be assigned to potentially to look after the whole group of people using the project. Then we have the project details. This gives you all of that information that we set up in that first tab, but we also have the addition of the comment section, which allows everyone within the project to make a comment, and we can have conversations back and forth about tasks that might need to take place there. And we also have the project settings. Now if I click project settings, this takes you back to being able to edit all of that information when we created the project. Plus on this final tab you have the ability to change the project owner. So if someone was leaving, we could move that ownership to a new person within the organization, and we could go from there. So jumping back to the projects, we're going to now jump into our assets, and this will take us to the next stage of the video where we'll start looking at how we upload to the platform and start working with our data. Okay guys, so the first thing that we need to think about with Reality Cloud Studio is how we get our data into the platform. And thankfully there's lots of different ways that we can do that. We also support a lot of different file types as well. So the first thing you should know is that with a lot of our devices, like the BLK2Go, the To-Fly, the BLK Arc, the BLK360, we have the capability to go directly from the field up into Reality Cloud Studio with our connected ecosystem of apps. Cyclone Field 360 also has the capability to send data directly to Reality Cloud Studio as well. So you can actually create a registered bundle directly in the field with Field 360 and send that up to Reality Cloud Studio ready for processing. So there's lots of flexibility, but in addition to all of that, you have the ability just to drag and drop a file from, whether it's cloud storage or directly from your desktop into the platform, so you can start working with that data. So that's what we're going to show now in this very short video. Super simple. All we're going to do is just add an asset, but I'm going to, rather than do it at this top level of the folder, I know this is a BLK360 asset that someone has sent me. You can see already we've got some projects that have been meshed or finished and registered in here, but all I'm going to do is just say add asset. Now if I click add asset, that we can then just choose the asset. I'll press open, and that will now start the process of adding the E57 directly to the platform. Now, it won't do any meshing at this point. This is just processing the point cloud, and it's processing the panoramas. We can then choose the meshing parameters that we'll use, and we'll talk about that in a separate chapter. But you can see now on the left-hand side, that process of upload is about to start kicking off. And once it's in the platform, we'll just wait, and then we have access to the project when it's finished. We can change the file name, we can perform edits and all the other things that we need to directly on that file once it's uploaded. If we want to, we can pause this upload and continue at another time, but whilst that is uploading, we can carry on doing anything else in the platform that we wish. So we can navigate away from this page, go to another asset and start looking at other information from any of these other projects, and you can still see down the left hand side it's processing. Okay, so what you'll see now is the card will appear, which will give you an indication of the upload progress, and when that has finished, it will get a couple of green ticks. And if we want to then carry out the meshing as an additional step, we can do that by clicking on the asset and choosing that. But we'll look at that as part of a separate chapter. Okay guys, so now we're going to talk about one of the most powerful parts of Reality Cloud Studio, and that is the ability to automatically register our data directly within the platform. So we currently support upload of the all new BLK 360 data from BLK Live. Also the B2G producing sensors, we can go directly from the cloud, from the field to the cloud, and we can also, if we've got the B2G files on our desktop, we can also drag and drop those directly into the platform. Now what I've done is I've created a folder here called registration to show this very case in point. You can see here's one I did earlier. And I've got this New Orleans data set, and I've also got this levee over here. Now I'm going to show you the levee one primarily because I've got the result of that exact example. So this is looking at the B2G process. This is, so like I said, any of the kinematic solutions. Now if I start clicking the left hand corner of these projects, what you'll see is the dialog box in the right hand side opens up, and that allows us to either delete, which we're not going to do here, or click auto register. Now of course we could just select 3 of these if we wanted to, but we know that this project will come together. I click the auto register assets, and you can see at this point it gives us the option between the B2G and the E57. There are no E57s here, so we're obviously looking at the B2G workflow. It will give us the number of files included. At the minute there's a cap of 15 B2G files within an automatic registration. At the bottom you can see there it says automatic registration will be created as a separate file. So we create a separate 0 kilobyte file, which is a reference file where all of the other scans are located and oriented, and that's what we get. So we could just put in a name there, so we just say test1, hit auto register, and then we would have our registration in a short period of time. Now obviously that depends on the number of scans, the complexity, but typically we're using the power of the cloud here. It's nice and fast, and it's fully automated in the background. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to jump back to this folder, and you can see here's one I did earlier. If we click on the 3 dots, you can export that data as if you've meshed it as a mesh or a point cloud. We can move or copy that, rename it, delete it, but in this instance I'm just going to click on there and we're going to automatically open this asset. So there is our registered B2G, so it's 4 B2G files registered together, and we're going to talk a little bit more in a minute about the whole interface within Reality Cloud Studio and allow you to start navigating these assets and working with these assets. But that is the process. Now as well as that, I also did I did this BLK to go example, the square in New Orleans, and we'll just open that folder. So here you go, so Jackson Square in New Orleans with the BLK to go. If we just click on that asset, that will start loading in. We're going to look at this in a second, but you can see that now starting to load. This has been meshed, and you can see the level of detail that we're able to achieve. Now obviously the LOD, the level of detail, will increase and also will depend on your bandwidth. So if you've got incredibly fast internet speed, then lucky you're going to see these assets much faster than someone like me who has a very slow connection. And that's it, there's your registered data. So that's 3 BLK to go scans automatically registered directly in Reality Cloud Studio, ready for you to start working with that data. And I hope you agree that it looks absolutely fantastic. Okay guys, so another really powerful aspect of Reality Cloud Studio is the automatic meshing capability. What this allows us to do is, with a single click operation, is basically generate the mesh, and it will also use the correct parameters for that type of data as well. So if it's a BLK360 or an RTC360 or a BLK to go, it will use the right meshing parameters to deliver the optimum streaming result for that mesh with the best colorization and the best use of the imagery within that file. So what we're going to look at now is we're going to jump into our meshing folder here, and you can see there's a couple of assets which I've already uploaded. Now all of these have been uploaded and are ready for processing, but we haven't turned them into a mesh yet. So I can actually just click on the three dots here next to one of these assets, and I can click Generate Mesh, and then you can see there's the big long list of options that we can choose. Now we know that this was with a BLK360, so I can click BLK360 and generate mesh. The one thing you should note here is it says meshing consumes your monthly subscription tokens. So you'll be made aware of this through the marketing materials all around Reality Cloud Studio, but it's just a little warning there for anyone who's running that within the company that they are using some of their tokens from their subscription. So we could just hit mesh then. We're not going to do that now. Obviously this one here, we would say generate mesh, RTC360, that's fine, or this one we could use the BLK to go option. But the one thing I did want to draw your attention to was the last option, which is generic. So if you've got data where you don't know what the source is, you don't know where it's come from, it could be third-party data, you can use the generic option and it will deliver the best possible result. And away we go. We would create the mesh and we've got it streaming. So what I'm going to do now is start moving into the next stage of the presentation. I'm going to move into this RTC360 asset of this World War I museum, which was kindly collected by Nord Technologies in the USA. And then we can start working through the navigation and all the various tools within the platform. So we're going to click here into World War I RTC360, and this will now start loading that asset, ready for us to start looking at the platform in a little bit more detail and the things that you can do once you've uploaded and processed your data. Okay, so now we're going to look at how we visualize this asset within Reality Cloud Studio, within the viewer, and I'm just going to take you through some of the settings. So we'll work our way across the top of the screen, down the side of the screen, and then separately we'll then start looking at the tools. So this is the meshed asset that we were talking about before. This is how it loads up in what we call the default view initially. So it's got this kind of nice cell shaded view with the black background. But of course, there's lots of different ways that we can visualize this data set, and that's what I'm going to show you now. So if we click on this little quick modes button just next to the title, you can see here we've got default, vivid and white. And I don't want to use white, but that is particularly good with certain data sets if you just want complete clarity. But I'm going to use the vivid option. And automatically we jump into this really nice color popping view with the sky, which incidentally seems to match this really nice data set. And we can, if we want to, we can tweak that, and we can tweak the colors in a second. I'll show you that. But that's a nice automatic setting that will give us a really nice look and feel for our asset. Now here across the middle, you can switch to the point cloud view if you want to. So that's just the point cloud. We can switch to the mesh. We've got a doll's house view if we want to. That works particularly well if you're working on a data set which has got multiple levels, like an office building or a hospital, for example, for doing virtual tours. And if we click on these little three dots here for additional layers, you can turn on or off the panoramic viewpoints, so you can actually go in and see the photography, or we've got comparison mode, which will actually show you the point cloud and the mesh in the same space. So really nice, simple tools. And I think if you go down into the data set, we can actually start identifying some of these hotspots, so we can zoom in and we can actually see the panorama that's been collected by the RTC360. At any point in time, if we just press escape, that will jump us back out into the full 3D view, and we can start looking at the asset again. So that's some of the navigation tools. So on the right hand side, we've also got visualization settings, and we have the export functions. So firstly, we're going to look at the visualization settings. Now if we click in here, You can see sometimes perhaps we use the vivid and it maybe gives it a bit too much of a color pop. So we can click default and that will give it a little bit more of a realistic rendering, or we can use highlight or potentially white if we wanted to. We can change all of these as well on the fly. So if we wanted to bump any of the contrast or the brightness or the saturation, we can do that all through here. If you've got the point cloud, again, you've got various settings for the point cloud. So adaptive point spacing, 1 centimeter size, we can change the scaling. Then if you go to outline, this is quite cool. This is what you saw initially. We can put on this like cell shaded effect, which gives everything some nice depth. We can change the strength. We can change the edge detection. We can even change the brightness to make it white edge detection if we wanted to. So by default, I tend to use it in no outline, but that's a really nice rendering option and quite cool for certain videos that you might create. Now the background, we of course have got the skybox turned on, so we've got our clouds, but if you want to, you can just revert to default. You can go light, or you can just have unicolor, and then of course you can choose a color. So you could go really garish if you wanted to and choose something like that. But we'll go back to the clouds. Grid lines you can turn on or off, and then background blur is really nice. So this will allow us actually, I think if we go into the data set nice and low, you can see the background blur taking effect. So we have this depth of field effect, and we can actually tweak that, and you can see how that building in the background is getting more blurred as we change those settings. So that's just some of the features within there. We've also got a quality setting. Now the quality allows you to choose, again, you maybe got super low bandwidth, so you just want to use it on low quality. If you use ultra, it will always try to bring in the most amount of data. And you can see here the quality factor, 200%. We've got an unlimited point count. We've also got gap filling and stuff turned on. You can also, if you're looking at the point cloud, you can change the point shape. So sometimes it does look better if you use the disk rendering as opposed to the sphere. And one of my favorite functions in here actually is the ability to change the cursor type. So if we go into the cursor type, you can see we've got targets, we've got pulses, we've got highlights. One of my absolute favorites, particularly for certain data sets, is see-through. So if we use the see-through, you can see now I'm just hovering over the asset and I can actually see directly through the asset. And this works particularly well, again, if you're in a building with multiple levels or rooms. But I'm just going to go back to my default cursor. So that is all the visualization settings that you need to look at. You've then got the download options, the export, so you can download the original file, download the panoramas. You can also download the mesh as well if you want to. So that's entirely up to you. So all of this is through this interface. Feedback, we won't go into, but if you want to give any feedback directly, you can directly through the platform. And then we've got our navigation tools. So notice at the minute I've been using this orbit function quite a lot. But we've also got first person. And panorama mode. So if I go into my first person mode, if I right click anywhere, that will actually just take me to that location. I can double click again and it will just take me to the lower view. And I can also then use the keyboard, and I'm just now using the keyboard and my mouse to navigate around that as though I was in a first person view, a little bit like a video game. And that gives a really nice look and feel. So if you're used to this way of navigating an asset, then you can use that. And of course we also have the panorama mode. So that will take us to the nearest panorama. We'll just switch back to panorama mode. There you go, we're in the nearest panorama, and we can just click again on another location and it will take us to the nearest panorama, and you can see this fantastic monument up ahead of us. So super simple. So we'll just go back into our 3D mode, and if we want to now, we've also got this 2D mode, so we can view it in top down nice and quickly, and we've also got reset view, which takes us right back to the original view in which we came into the asset. Plus, if we click on this little help icon, this gives us all the tips and tricks of how we can actually navigate directly through. So if you're brand new to the platform, you can easily find exactly what you need to do and where you need to go using that little help functionality. So that is everything that we need to know in terms of navigating and moving around our asset and changing our visualization settings. Right, so what we're going to do now is jump into looking at some of the tools that you can use with your asset. But before we do that, I just want to jump straight into this little project information tab on the left-hand side, the asset details. So I'm just going to click into the asset details. So this allows you to take a cover image. So you've seen all those really nice thumbnails at the beginning. You can just take a cover image there. You can retake this as many times as you like. You can change the asset name in this place, in this location. You can see the asset size. Of course, this is actually a relatively small asset size, but it gives you an indication the platform. A lot of people have been pushing this in testing, really big file size. I won't divulge, but yeah, I think it's very exciting to see where we're going with this. When it was uploaded, when it was modified, and you can then see all the artifacts that are associated with the project as well. So you can see we've got the point cloud, the mesh, and the panoramas, which we know because we've looked at the asset, plus all these labels. Now, if we want to, at any point in time, we can just click Edit, and we can add more labels. We've got up to 10 labels that we can add to a given asset or a given project. So you can see here we've got grass, buildings, plaza, monument, things that will allow us to search for that asset across the entire instance of Reality Cloud Studio. So I'm going to close that down and we're going to work our way through this left-hand side. We're going to look at limit boxes, measurements, annotations and tours. Now they're all tools that you would expect, and you can see there's lots more space down this left hand side, so let's see what other tools we added as we go throughout the years after release Reality Cloud Studio. But first let's jump in and we'll start looking at limit boxes. So hopefully you all know what a limit box is. It's a very simple way of isolating an area of interest, and one of the brilliant things that we can do actually is we can just jump in and edit one of these existing ones, or we can just create a new one. We can also search. So if you've given a name and you said, for example, here we search for statues, maybe you've segmented all the statues and you could see those by searching directly in that box. But just to show you how this works, I'm going to say add limit box. Now what you've got here is your limit box, really easy to use. You can just grab these handles on the side and move them any which way, so we could get rid of the tower entirely if we wanted to, and of course we can reduce all this area here. So we could make this as big or small as we want, and just by grabbing any of these handles, and we can then save that once we're happy. We've already got one called tower, so I'm not going to do this again, but if we wanted to, we could just hit save. The other thing I should note is you've got the ability to change the box size using the sliders at the bottom. You probably saw those moving whilst I was editing, so I can just tweak these, or I could manually override these and actually type in a value, and I can actually click there and you can see I'm moving that and it's moving the box. So there's lots of different ways where we can tweak and edit our limit boxes within the platform. And of course, if I go back into limit boxes, you've got all the other limit boxes that we've created. Now what's really nice is they're not just existing there. I can click on it and it will navigate to that particular limit box, and of course I click on the next one and it will take us to those, and then we've got the tower. So I really like the way of breaking down the project into smaller isolated chunks, and of course at any point in time you could actually edit that. But what you've also got, and this is really nice, is the ability to copy a link to that specific limit box. So you can copy the link and it will say link copied to clipboard, and then we can actually, I'm getting this in, so I'm just going to open that up again, and this will take you directly into that asset and take you straight to that limit box. So that's how they work, and hopefully you will appreciate that workflow. So of course we can keep adding more limit boxes to our heart's content, but I'm going to now turn those all off. I'll say display without limit box, and we're back to the original asset. So really easy tool to use, really nice way to break the project down into smaller chunks if you need to. Then we've got measurements. Now we've got some really cool measurement capability. You can see here I've already got tower height, which was actually created by one of my colleagues. So if I just now click to make that visible, you can see there's the height that's been created. If I hover over it, you can see we've got the height, and we've got the various deviations there as well. But if I want to add a new measurement, or let's say we're going to do, I don't know, something around the facade of this little building on the side, say add measurement, I've got the ability to do a distance, an area, or a planar area. Now obviously a distance is a given, right? 2 pick points and off you go. An area is multiple pick points, so I can just click on the corners of these buildings, of this building for example. I'll just click up to this top corner, and let's just do the top portion of this building for example, and just double click. There you go, and I'm just going to say building in my description and save. And you can see then it gives you a report of the perimeter, and it also gives you the area information. So if I click back to the building there, you can see we've got all of that information reported. And I can even say edit, and I can edit that if we want to. Plus, of course, you saw before, if we said copy link, we can do exactly like we did with the clips, and we can send that across to someone. So that's how we would use that function. We've also got this really nice planar capability. Now there's lots of flat surfaces around here anyway, but I want to show you how this works. We say add measurement, and we're going to use planar area. Now here you can use what we call either projection mode or raycast mode, which is just a slightly different way of picking the points. But if we use the projection, what I'm going to do now, you see I've got this little blue icon. And if I click 3 times, that is now going to define, there you go, so I can move that around, that is now going to define my plane of my measurement. And if I now just start picking, so let's pick at the bottom of these steps, for example, and we'll just draw a little area. Maybe we need to replace something here, so we'll just pick into the corner. Oops, and we'll just go around here. And then another pick point to finish that off. And what's nice is you can still navigate. So if we just now double click over here somewhere, and there's the area, and we just say projection, save that, and we have saved our new measurement. So we can make that visible, of course. And what's great is you can see those measurements are persistent because they're all visible. At any point in time, if we don't want to see them for any reason, there you go, there's the area being reported on those. We just click hide all, and they are now hidden from view, and at any point in time we can just bring them back and we can just see those and make them visible. So that is the measurement capability. Again, super simple. Now we're going to move into annotations. So annotations are really nice. Not only are they a way of guiding a user through the asset, but they're also great for sharing information within your teams. So if I go into annotations, what you can see is there's loads in here which have all been added by various people. And I think there's Aaron Bruce here. If we say show all, we can see all of those within the project, and of course we can click on these and we can jump to them. But I'm going to click on this one here which says Assyrian Sphinxes, and you can see now we've got a little flyout which says gives information about the Sphinxes, and of course in exactly the same way as before we can copy the link and we can share that. So if let's just do that again, we'll say copy the link, and we'll create a new window over here, and we'll jump straight to that particular link within the asset. There you go. So it takes you straight to that given information, which is fantastic. So again, we can hide them all, or we can make them all visible. And of course, every time we click on one of these, it will jump and navigate directly to it. So it's a really nice navigation experience. And eventually you'll have the ability to comment, and the ability to tag other users, the ability to link out to external solutions and external websites, like here where you've got a YouTube link, for example. You could just click on there and access that information directly from your annotations. So again, a really nice way of interacting with your data set. Now the final one which I'm going to look at is tours. Now tours is a way of creating a virtual tour. So this could be a tour that you just want to share the path of, and you can share the link and they can open up the tour, or we can actually render out a video, a really nice video, high quality, directly from the browser. So if we go into the tour tab, there should be already a couple of tours in here, so that's just loading. But if we wanted to, we would just say add tour. Now the one thing I'm going to do is actually jump back and turn I'm going to hide all these annotations because I don't want them showing in my tour. But you've got a fly through there, for example. You see you've got the blue line that appears. We've got long tour, and you've got spiraling vista, which if we zoom out of the asset, you can see spiraling vista is pretty cool. This one here has been done by Rick, so that's my colleague. These are a couple by me. But if I click on one of these, it now takes you to the tour, and you can just play it directly in the browser. So now we're just viewing that. So this is an experience that someone would have if you just shared them the link. They could just click on the tour and they'd be able to see it. At any point in time, we can jump in and we can edit this information. And now this tour is auto running. If I just click and move my mouse, we're now out of the tour. So it automatically jumps us out of the tour, and we're ready to start doing more stuff with the data. But if I click edit, I can tweak the duration, I can make it a circular path, I can change the smoothing to on the path or per point. That's all in here. I'm just going to cancel because I don't want to actually edit that particular path. If we go back, of course, to the second one, in a second when it loads. Sorry, the spiraling one from Rick. You can see that. Again, I can just press play, and this has been done pretty much automatically, and I'll show you how we've done that in a second using a really nice new feature that we've added to the platform. So I'm just going to stop that. So let's say we want to create a new tour. So we're going to say add tour. Now this is what I love about Reality Cloud Studio. You've got all of these presets, plus we've got this rather funky option called I'm feeling lucky. But let's say we just want to do a sky rocket. We just want to go from the ground up to the sky. Easy, easy, super easy, just fly up. We just click rocket, and that automatically creates this 10-second animation. So if I now press play, we've got a 10-second animation, and we haven't had to do anything. It's just ready to start rendering out, and we can save that if we want to. Really easy. The other thing that we can do is, as I said, we've got I'm feeling lucky. Now, I'm feeling lucky, and I'm hoping the result is good. But if I click I'm feeling lucky, it will just put in this random spline, and we can use that, and we can change this and tweak this if we wanted to. But I'm not going to use that option. I'm just going to put in, let's just put in a circle. Okay, so we've now got our circular one here. You can see that's a little bit too high. But if I wanted to, you can see all the cameras are facing down. But if I click on any one of these cameras, I can now change the position. I can rotate it, or I can delete it. So I could actually now just move to each of those camera positions that we've created within the asset. And if I wanted to, I can just drag this down easily. I could just drag this line, and I can just take it really, really low, for example, and then that's it. That's how easy it is to edit the path that we have just created. And of course, we could, like I said, we could just delete it and then say confirm, and then we're left with this much, much smaller path that we have created. But there you go. So that's your small circular animation that is created automatically using that option. If we wanted to do something a little bit more detailed, we could actually just use the camera tool, and we can capture our path. So let's say we start here, we do our first viewpoint, and then we zoom a little bit further on. Okay, second viewpoint, we'll go up to the base of the tower, and then we'll start looking up to the tower. Okay, so we'll just get outside of here, and then we'll do maybe one more at the top of the tower, and that we can specify the time. Obviously it's not a circular path, and if we just press play, you can see how easy it is to create that set 10-second tour. I've done that with 5 clicks, and off we go. That's now being pushed out and shown directly in the browser. But the final stage, of course, would be to save that and render it. So we click save. I'm just going to say Paul Demo 1, and that will now save it. So when I go back out now into my tours, you can see we've got this Paul Demo 1, got the nice thumbnail associated with it. I can click on it, and I can then click record. Now if I click record, I can choose the settings, so I can do low, medium, high, best. Best does 60 frames per second within the browser, creates an MP4 file, and loads all of the data for every single part of the scene as it's going through. So when you get this finished result, you should see no patching or popping in or anything. You just get the full LOD, that extreme quality for your video. And that is done within Reality Cloud Studio. There's nothing external. So I've been doing a lot of these, had a really good time creating these for marketing and various other people. And I think you guys will really enjoy working with the tours as well. So anyway, we would just hit record button when we're ready. That would then start moving into the recording process. You just keep your window open, and that's it. Away you go. I'm just going to click stop. I'm not going to save that, but that would then create the MP4 file, and you can share that with your friends, put it on YouTube, put it on LinkedIn, put it wherever, but that is a file ready for you to share. So that is pretty much everything that I wanted to discuss within the tool section of the platform. But really easy to use, everything is guided, everything has a little flyout, a little bit of information, and like I said, really should be very quick to start creating some really nice content on the base of your assets. Okay, so thank you very much for joining us for that whistle-stop tour through Reality Cloud Studio powered by HxDR today. What we've covered was obviously, firstly, the platform itself, getting data into the platform, so whether that's uploading from the device or dragging and dropping through the browser. We touched on the automatic registration, automatic meshing, and then of course we looked at the actually interacting with the asset, the visualization settings, and then all of the tools. such as clip boxes, annotations, tours, measurements, all those cool things that you will want to do with your projects directly within Reality Cloud Studio. So I want to thank you again for joining this session. We're incredibly excited about the platform. It's been a long time in the making, with hundreds of people across the organization involved in bringing this to market. But genuinely, we're trying to change the way that people perceive and how they work with reality capture data, and also looking at how we can leverage the cloud to automate a lot of these tasks. In particular, I think you probably really enjoy the automatic meshing, the automatic registration, and of course, the automatic tours as well. Stuff that used to take a long time and lots of different third-party applications, and we can now centralize this. Not only are you centralizing your data, we're centralizing the user experience and giving people across your organization the power to view that data in this collaborative space. And that's really, for me, where I see the value in Reality Cloud Studio. So what does the future hold? Really, I just want to see as much of an expansion in this solution as possible, more tools layered on top and microservices that we can add to the solution as we move forward into the future. But for now, this is the beginning of the story for Reality Cloud Studio. We want you to go out there, put as much data in the platform as possible, and get as much possible value from that content. So thank you very much for listening to this short video. We hope you found it valuable. If you've got any questions, just get in touch with us and we'll be more than willing to answer as best as possible. So take care, and we'll see you in the next video.